Hey guys, Jason here with the One Stop How To Guys, bringing you episode 26 of Practical Drupal Development. Now, I am very sorry that it has been quite a while since we've been doing anything here on Practical Drupal Development. My schedule's been a little crazy. I had a little spring cleaning to do in the studio, but we are back and we are ready to keep moving on this site. So, if you do remember where we last left off, we were messing around with our TPL file to get our header region kind of spread out like this, and our footer region the same, and then some of us optionally floated this sidebar over to the left-hand side. So what we're going to do today is we are going to handle theming up this header region. So what we need to do is pop in here to our style sheet. Now this will be located in Sites All Themes if you downloaded Business, and then Styles. So we're just going to open this up with a plain text editor. So let's go ahead and open this here in Notepad++. And we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. Now you'll notice in this style sheet that there are these comments. I'm just going to go ahead and copy one of those, and we're going to keep scrolling all the way down to the bottom of the page here. Now, what I like to do is be overly anal about my commenting in my CSS file. I want to know what I did, where I did it, and I want to be able to dig through my style sheet and be able to quickly find everything that I'm looking for, so that if I need to go back in and change the colors of my website, I know exactly what section I need to move to in order to edit those CSS files. So I'm going to paste this comment in here, and I'm going to say custom theming on this. And we are actually going to make this one a little bit longer, just because this is going to be, as you're scrolling down, I want to be able to see, oh, hey, here's where my custom theming starts, because it's this huge giant comment, and it just stands out a little bit. So there's our custom theming region. And then what I like to do is I like to create a table of contents. So we're going to open up a comment there, and we're going to close the comment there. And I'm just going to come in here and say custom one, and we're going to call that global theming. And this is going to be for everything, like just your basic links. Maybe you have a special font on the paragraph tags and you want to do it just to everything globally. That's where that's going to be. And then since today we are working on the header region, we are going to make our second one here the header styles. And I'm actually going to change this to styles as well. And then there's going to be one more thing that we might be getting into today, and that is the main navigation. And so this will be 2 and 3. Now this is just going to be a way of helping us stay organized within our style sheet. I'm going to scroll up and grab another one of these short comments and get rid of some of this space here. And we can then do custom one. So this will match our ordering up above, and this will be global styles. If I can type today. And then we'll just paste 2 more of these in here, and one of which will be the header styles, and 3 will be our main navigation. Now, this seems like a lot of setup work and a lot of time burnt and spent just setting up some comments in your CSS sheet, but by the time we're done with this demonstration project here, this style sheet's going to get even longer, and I mean quite a bit longer, and you'll see how quick that kind of happens, and having this kind of organization is really going to be beneficial in the end. So we're going to pop back over here, and I'm going to show you another tool here. If you're using Google Chrome, and most browsers do have a feature similar to this, however, I like Chrome's the best, so I suggest using Google Chrome over any other web browser. But if you're in Chrome or or any other web browser, if you right click, you'll usually see something that says inspect element. And what this is going to do is bring up kind of a debugger, kind of a full-on version of the HTML on your website and a CSS editor here. Now, the cool thing about this is you can make live CSS changes. I can click this header wrap region right here, and I can say display none. And that header region's going to go away. Now, the cool thing about this is it's also just temporary. So as soon as you hit refresh, all of those styles are going to go away. Now, this is going to be really helpful to us because you can kind of style live preview everything, get it to how you like it, and then copy that over into your style sheet. So what we're going to do is we want our header wrap to be full width across the page and just have a nice little white background. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have header wrap selected here in our live editor, and we are going to say that we want the background of this to be white. So we'll do that, and you can see the background goes white. Maybe we'll add how about a box shadow to the bottom of this, and we are going to, just for now, do 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 35 pixels, -6 pixels, and a color of black. And now you're going to see that that's way too big because I accidentally put in 385 pixels. So the cool thing is you can just kind of on the fly make little changes in this editor here, and you can see them affected right there. So it looks like I'm going to roll with 0, 0, 29, -10, and black. So what we can do from here to make these changes then permanent is copy this header wrap ID and navigate back over to our style sheet into our header section, and we'll put that ID in there. And we will bounce over here and just out of Google Chrome copy both of those items, paste them in there, and I like to give it a little formatting so I could see. Save that and navigate back and hit refresh, and we will see that that is working. And you'll see too that even though we have two different TPL files that are laying out our site, all of the IDs and classes are still the same. So as we navigate into the site, you could see that that styling is staying the same. So that's exactly what we wanted there. We're going to go in one level here, and we are going to take this header, and we are going to say that the header is going to have a width of 960 pixels, and we're going to set the margin to 0 auto, and this is going to center that in on our page so that it looks the way that we want it to here. And when we refresh this, you'll see that the header has now come into play, and it's right where we want it, where we have that extra extended white out to the side, and the header itself is contained within our website. Now, there's something that we need to do to this navigation in this particular theme, and I know this because I've done it 100 times with this theme. It's positioned absolutely, and we don't want it positioned absolute for our particular theme. So we're going to bounce in here to our main navigation styles, and we're going to just paste in that navigation region. And all we're going to do is say that we want the position of this to be relative. Now, I know we're using a lot of CSS, and if you're just kind of following along and don't know CSS, you're probably just copying and pasting exactly what I'm doing. And that's fine. I don't really want to cover how CSS works or what CSS is in this particular series. We'll probably do a separate dedicated series to CSS, period. But we're just going to have you follow along with us here. If you know it, then feel free to do things uniquely and the way that you want to do them. But you'll see what that's going to do is move this down here. And then what else I'm going to do here is I'm going to float that to the right and make sure that that clears right. And right now, that's just where we're going to leave it. I'm not sure if we're going to leave it there permanently, but that's where it's going to be for right now. So the next thing we need to do is we need to get all of this stuff here, this phone number and this search box, over to the side because we want them just kind of set up nicely here. So we want the logo, which this is a pretty bad logo here. We might change that. But we want this logo sitting here a phone number over here, search bar, and then the navigation bar. So in order to do that, we're going to inspect the element on that guy, and you can see that it has an ID of block 2. Every block that you create through structure, blocks, add block, is going to have a unique ID to it. And if you use it through structure blocks, it's going to be block, and then the number as far as how deep you are in creating blocks. So this one will be 3, or this one will be 2, the next one would be 3, 4, so on. And then views blocks operate a little differently. But this is just kind of a nice system because you know it's always going to be block something as its main container. So what we're going to do here is in our header styles, we are going to paste that in, and we are going to say float right, clear right, and this is going to make sure that everything gets out of the way here. Clear right. And you'll see that that phone number pops over to the side there now, or should have. Maybe we didn't get that saved. Nope. So that phone number will pop on over there to the side now. Now this search bar. This search bar, we do want it to float right, but obviously we don't want it to clear right, because if it cleared right, it would just end up right back underneath the phone number. So we're going to take that block's ID, and we are just simply going to float it right. So there it is. Now it's obviously not set up quite how we wanted. I'd like to have everything on on just one line here. And so we're going to have to kind of mess around with this HTML and find the element that's kind of containing this whole thing. And you can see that if we come in here to the form, we can set a width on the form of, this is going to be too much probably right now, of 250 pixels. And that's probably going to be a bit much, but it's a good place to start, and then we can always back it up from there. So we're going to copy this that is the main block container, and we're going to do form, and we're copying that top level because we really don't want to, grab every form that we created on this website. Otherwise our contact page would only be about 250 pixels, which is no good to us as far as how the theming looks. So let me get back over here to the site, and when we refresh that, that should be fine. And now there is a wrapper container for these inputs. If we just called input and floated it, it probably wouldn't give us the result we want. But if you look here, there is a wrapper field that kind of matches the element that it's used for, which here is form item custom search block. We're going to take that. That is the complete and total wrapper of that input field, and we can either leave it that way or we can specify more deeply. I would say whenever you have something that's unique in your CSS that's not quite going to ever be reused again on another field, try to call that as deeply as you can, as specifically as you can, so that you're not accidentally theming other portions of the site. So what we're going to do is we're going to float this left, and then we're going to save it and see what that's looking like over here. And you can see that that's kind of working for us here. But you can also see that the red on top and on bottom of this are showing us the margins. Red is margin in Google Chrome, and green is padding. So we can see that in order to get this to line up, what we need to do is we need to take the margin top completely off of this, and that should line us up nice there. So we're going to do that, and we're going to make sure that gets copied and pasted over into our CSS file. So now we're getting a little bit closer to what we're looking for here. We can see that we still have something in here that's kind of pushing us down, and I'm not really sure offhand right now what that is. And it's possible that, there it is, the form actions wrapper is kind of keeping us. So if we do the margin top here and set that to 0, you can see that we'll bounce all the way to the top of the page, which is exactly what we want. We want these two blocks lined up as best as we possibly can, so that when we put a little padding on the header wrap, that's going to move those two elements down together, and we're not going to have to do any weird kind of alignment stuff in order to get it to work. So we're going to just do that, and we are going to say margin top 0 pixels. And that's going to do it for positioning of those elements. So that's looking okay. We probably can safely now bring this space down a little bit, but what I want to do is I want to come over here, and we know that this here is the wrapper for our form, and if we just do input type equals text here, we can grab that input text and we can say margin to the right of it, just about 5 pixels. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us just a little space between here, and when we refresh that, there we go. We got a little bit of space in there, and that's kind of what we want. And now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our form, and we can bring the width down. And the cool thing is if you hover this and you bring this width down, you can see when it's going to break. So that's about 210. So we're going to come back over here and change 250 to 210. And we're going to give it maybe a margin just to kind of move it over a hair. And it looks like my text editor is really having a hard time saving today. So there's that. And for right now, I think that's going to be okay. Now, a phone number is a great call to action to have on your website, but it's kind of useless when it's really small. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this block here, and we're going to take the, if you look here in this block, I better do this, I just do a lot of this by knowing every block has a .content region, a class of content, and if you don't call it directly, you're going to get some of the admin stuff when you're logged into the site. I like to theme up all of my sites as much as I can logged out, because you don't get all of that other stuff. You're going to actually see what the person visiting the site is going to see. So we're going to give that maybe a font size of 22 pixels. And see what that looks like. And that's pretty big, and that's going to work, I guess. We are going to come up here globally, and we are going to say body, and we're going to give this a font family of Helvetica. Now, I am using one of the most generic fonts that I possibly can, simply because I want it to be a font that everybody else can use if they choose to. You can obviously, if you know how to install fonts, use fonts through Google Fonts, whatever. You can do whatever you want there. But I'm just going to use Helvetica so that it's one that I know just about everybody has. I'm going to increase that phone number size just a hair more now that we changed fonts. All right. The header wrap, I am going to add just a little padding to the top of that so we have a little bit of breathing room. And we'll do padding top, let's just do 5 pixels. Wow, that did not turn out to 5 pixels. So there we go. Maybe let's do just a little more. Let's just do 10. That might look a little better. So there we go. Now we got some breathing room. These A tags with this theme are one of the most frustrating things that I've ever dealt with. This red is about as impossible to get rid of. And let me just make sure. I can't remember if we got rid of color.css. It looks like we did, but in order to get rid of it here, I did have to go back through and reset some of this stuff because I was recording this video before and it crashed. So I can't remember if we did this or not. We're going to command or control F and look for .active. And we're looking for this main menu .active stuff. Anywhere that there is a .active on this, we are going to get rid of it. And I think it's just here to here. And it's all that background stuff. So we're just going to dump that off of there and reset. And there we go. Now all that really, really annoying background crap is gone. So now we have to make a decision here. We need to choose what colors we're going to be working with. And honestly, I'm really not the best at doing these color options. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to clear this out here, and I'm going to go with some sort of blue, I guess. Blue-greenish color. Seems pretty neutral. So I'm just going to pick that. You can pick, obviously, any colors that you want to pick, and I think you'll be fine with that. Make your site unique. Make it your own. I'm going to come back up in here, and to my P tag, I'm going to say color of that color picker option that we had there. And that is going to hopefully change that. Might not have been a drastic enough change. It looks like I might have hit the wrong button there. Sometimes it's really hard to do these with a microphone in front of your face. So there we go. We've got that. We're also going to do the same here to this input. We are going to just copy all of this. Come down here to the bottom. Obviously, we're not in this custom form anymore, so we can get rid of that. But we are going to say input type equals submit. And from here, we're just going to say background. And we are going to set this background to that same color here. And that should get that. Now, there may be an issue with this color not working on this. And it did work that time, but sometimes you have to override these default styles, and that really is a pain in the butt. We're also going to say that this thing has a border of 1 pixel solid and that same color. That way we can get rid of that little red border around it. And actually, I'm going to say border none. There really is none, no reason. And I'm going to use the important tag, exclamation point important, to make sure that nothing overwrites that. We just want to get rid of it entirely. It's kind of pointless to have that there. And then we are also going to say border radius none. Well, I think it's 0. And the reason we want to do that is because we want to get rid of those rounded corners. We want that to be kind of square. Now, we need to make sure that we have an awesome hover state for this. So we are going to copy that, and we are going to say hover. And all I'm going to do for our hover state is set the opacity down to something like 0.8. And that's just going to give us a little bit of a difference here in our hover state. It's just going to look kind of nice. And that's going to be it there. I think maybe we can take this P up here and make its font weight bold. This is really interesting. I've never themed a site right off the fly without any kind of mock-up to go off of or anything like that. So this is an interesting, unique challenge for me. I'm just kind of theming on the fly, and we're going to end up with what we end up with. So here, I just want to add a little padding to the top of this so that we can kind of get it dead in the center of that search bar as much as possible. And I'm going to take the margin bottom completely off of that P tag. It just doesn't look good, and it doesn't need it. So we're going to copy those 2 items, and we are going to paste them in there. So that seems like a long video just to get the header set up, but that's what it's going to take. We are going to dive into the navigation next video. I don't want to get too long of these theming videos because, I mean, they can have a tendency to really take forever. So we're going to leave this just like this. Obviously, take as much time as you want with yours. Go nuts with it. Make it look the way that you want it to look. But for right now, for us, this is going to call it on this video, and next video we're going to start working on that navigation. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you in the next episode of One Stop How To Guys Practical Drupal Development, which I promise will not be in a month and a half. Alright guys, I'll see you later.